Good morning. Hi, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in Reading, and welcome to everybody online as well. And so it's good to see everybody here today, and we have a wonderful sound booth team with Heidi, Dave, and Lindy, so a full team today. It's great. And we have Steve Smith on the board desk. But we're going to start off with a song from our choir for the opening song, and it's going to be by video. Here we go. Because the clapping will be on the recording, so they get to hear it. But thank you, choir, wherever you're at, and somewhere in here right now. So also with me today is Dr. Mary Mitchell, who's in here for prayer support afterwards. I just committed you. And I'll be here after service as well. So we have a wonderful service today, and right now we're going to kind of stand up or turn around and wave to the camera. And at the same time, we're going to have the children come up and to get ready for the face of God. Hello, Europe. India. So we're going to do face of God. So I had to watch XJ because he knows it better than I do, right? It's been a long time. So it's wonderful to have our breakthrough and have some children back. And we'll have more coming in the coming weeks. So I'm going to do a few focus announcements. But first of all, if there's anybody new today, if you would like an information packet, you can raise your hand and one of the ushers will bring one to you. And if you're shy or you just want to pick one up anyway, you can get one at the back of the sanctuary. So we have a few events coming up. We have Paint and Pour Your Art Out. It's a workshop with Ava Malinsky, Saturday, July 24th, 10 a.m. to noon in the social hall. So it is limited to 10 people, so if you're interested in that, you can see Steve in the back and for signing up. And also just a reminder that on our website, you can now go to a calendar and for events, and you can click on a class and sign up online. So you don't have to physically be here to sign up. And so we have more options for you to sign up. So remember that out there in webland. You can get on, you can not have to see Steve today, you can just sign up online. So we also have our book sale coming up, so check it out in the social hall. I guess that's ongoing. And then we have our social call, Zoom call, which is every Wednesday at 11 a.m. So you can check in with Lori in order to get the invite so you can join in on that Zoom call. It's a nice way to touch base with anybody going to the center who they want to talk about the talk on Sunday or just share what's going on in their life. It's a good way to do a weekly check-in. And then next week we have Reverend Lynn Fritz as our guest speaker. And then also I just want to mention that we do have the social hall open again. So after service you can enjoy cookies and refreshments and just be able to visit with people in person. So invite you to do that. So I'm going to do the reading today, and then we'll invite the bell 3 times, and then we'll do a spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer, and then we'll lead into our wonderful talk today by Reverend Sue with the topic, Free Your Mind and Rest Will Follow. So pretend like Craig's walking up. Hi. So this is a story with Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh, as a boy, one day looked into a large water-filled clay jar and saw a beautiful leaf of many colors. It rested at the bottom of the water, out of reach of his arm. He found a stick, but no matter how he swirled the water, he could not make the leaf rise to the surface. Giving up, he walked away. When he returned, a few moments later, the leaf lay upon the surface of the water, and he picked it up. The water had continued to swirl while he was away, bringing the leaf to the surface. This is how our unconscious minds work. When we have a problem to solve, struggling with our conscious mind becomes futile at a certain point. We must be able to stir the water and step away for a moment. Please join with me in the silence of this room, knowing that we are fully present with God, with Spirit, with love, knowing full well that there is an overwhelming presence of love flowing through each and every one of us as us. And as I know for myself, as I know for everyone here, that this love and this grand spirit of the one flows through each and every one of us, individualized in the most precious and unique way. but all part of the one. And so today I allow myself to sink into this knowing at a deep, deep level, knowing that we're all connected. We're all connected by the thread of God, of love, of the one. So no matter the outpicturing, it's to remember and to know that I am one with the one, with love, with God. So today I relax with a deep sense of gratitude and knowing that today I am open and receptive to the inspired words of Reverend Sue as she shares her heart, her message that's coming from the source, embedded deep within her own soul. So giving thanks for today and for this service and for life, I give great gratitude, not only for that, but also for this teaching and for this center and for this community. So giving thanks, I relax and I release these words and this prayer into law, knowing full well it is so, and together we say, and so it is. Reverend Sue.
Thank you, Judy. Good morning. So you guys are messing with me because I already was feeling like when I have a vision inside of myself, there's like a dozen rabbit holes I could take you down right now. But then you messed with me because you guys never sit there. You've never sat there, Hazel. You girls have never sat there. So I'm like totally like, wait, everybody, I'm going to close my eyes and go back to the world the way it used to be. That's just one more challenge and one more challenge. I'm excited about where we're going to go with this, actually. This message continues on, this idea of being pulled by a vision. And we started our month off really talking about that, and we imprinted the idea of the power of residing in an absolute truth. And that truth is something that each one of you are on the journey in a lifetime to discover what is true for you. It does not come. We are inspired by others, but it must come from within you, something you align with, that you recognize, yes, here a greater good is unfolding for all. So today, this message, pulled by vision, free up our mind and the rest will follow. Free up the mind and the rest will follow. That is the spiritual journey. That's it right there. That's what we've been doing all along. Every time your parents took you as a child to church, you were learning your way through life in this way. So we're tying all these threads together, and I want to just remind you what visioning was, as we mentioned it, that spiritual intention and practice of this art is to inform you as you surrender to a greater idea of life and express that purpose. When you discover what that is, to discover that and then allow divine direction to lead you. And then last week we settled into that question. What must I do? What is mine to do here to release this for the greater good? What is my opportunity here? What must I become? What must I let go of? And then I shared a little bit about Dispenza's work, Dr. Dispenza, because his idea of, remember, filling that gap of who we appear out here and our ideal self down here, and in between this space is this gap, and this gap is filled with the imprints of our life journey, our doubt, our successes, our failures, all of our feelings of insecurity and our senses of confidence. It's all in that gap. And when we can start to clear away that which gets in the way of the divine vision, we become that ideal self and better to operate as the servant of the one out in the world. So what is keeping us from our highest ideal? What is stuck? And how do we access the understanding to really let go? So that's what we're led up to today, freeing up that space in our minds so a greater good does indeed come forward. What does that lead you to? Freedom. And all Scripture reminds us to seek the kingdom first. What is the kingdom? Seek communion with God, and all things will be added unto you. And I know that sounds very familiar, because we also talked in this last few weeks about the stages of consciousness. And that stage 1 and 2, in those first 2 stages, we're learning our way. We're finding our way. And sometimes it's very clumsy when we're learning how to be in the world with others. And so that reminds me of when I was in that stage and I first moved out from home. My mom was real strict on what day we did cleaning. So Monday was laundry, Tuesday was ironing it, Wednesday you cleaned the bathrooms, Thursday you did your bedrooms, Friday you did the living room, Saturday you did yard work, Sunday you rested. Then it started again. When I moved out with my girlfriend and she wasn't dusting on the right day, she wasn't vacuuming, I was so irritated. I was just like, why isn't she doing life the way you're supposed to? And it didn't dawn on me that she didn't grow up in that paradigm. It just didn't dawn on me. And here I was about to lose a friendship over ironing or whatever it was. So that first 2 stages is that victim consciousness, it's also called, thinking that things happen to us. It's that whiny stage. It's that woe is me part of life, Eeyore complex, that everything then starts to evolve for us to recognize we are a part of it all. And so we start to move into another level of consciousness. We're a part of all this. By means of us, because we are part of all the things that are unfolding according to our field of awareness, right? According to what your parents dictated to you was the right way. So here we go. Now we're awakening to even a higher potential as we continue to mature our consciousness to a potential of our greater good. Baby steps, but we're on our way. But we can still feel limited by life circumstances. So stage 3, that's where we are. And we're starting to empower our consciousness and feel that the divine indeed is using us as instruments to work through us. And here is where the invitation is to surrender and to be in awe of life. It's a very humble stage. It's a humble recognizing. It is not I, but the Father who doeth the work. There is that statement again. What is the Father within? Now you might hear that and feel that that language doesn't speak to you. So let me share a little bit more about what it is, that Father within. You name it so that it is comfortable in your heart space so that you can evolve through this. It is your divine intelligence that you're tapping into, your oneness with that greater idea in the universe. It is your God connection, your spirit connection, your connection to the mystery, your connection to nature, your connection to the Father, Mother, God of all that there is. We are each being called into this vision of a greater idea. So, backing up a little bit again, what is the kingdom of heaven? What is the kingdom of heaven? Sometimes we hear these words and we just think we're about to go into the Lord's Prayer. But let me share from a metaphysical point of view. It is described as the orderly adjustment of divine ideas in one's mind and body. That's heaven. In order to know this space, we have to become conscious, aware of divine mind. And that is the ultimate realm of ideas, divine ideas. And we're evolving in that consciousness, adjusting our thoughts. What is the divine way here? What is the loving way? What is the compassionate way here? Think about that. What is truth? And we start to clean up here the inharmonious ideas that we might not have realized that we've been carrying along. So we peel away, we continue to peel away as we mature and grow and continue to have deep conversations with one another, join classes, go to the social hall, say, what did that mean to you? And get an idea, because somebody might be able to share that last bit of the equation for you, and you lift that veil and you suddenly see the divine light. So here we are looking for the truth, trying to find harmony with the divine vision and divine ideas. Heaven, the state of consciousness. We're trying to witness that at our soul level, at our body level, at a physical level, at an emotional level. Are we in harmony with this? This is the conditioning of your mind. So, saying all that, I bring you back to another way of looking at things. Our world today. Forming biases according to what we are looking at. What are we looking at? It's a crazy world. I mentioned a couple times about that shamanistic way of looking with two attentions. One is just looking at it as it is and just kind of going, wow, crazy world. It feels fragile and people are afraid. There are storms, there's fires, there's grasshoppers, there's floods, hurricanes, drought, violence, homemade spaceships, who knows, conspiracy theories, racial divide, political frustration, recalls, higher prices on just about everything, crowded roads and parks. We can't even get to some of our local hotspots here to go visit. The line of traffic is crazy. We have the COVID, now we have the Delta variant. We have vax or non-vax, we have mask or no mask. It's your fault or it's my fault. That's what we keep hearing. And we just feel exhausted trying to pull all these, and we realize this is just looking at things in a one-dimensional way. And we hear, if we stay there, we are starting to place blame, accusations, and frustrations out there. Now, there's a beautiful little story of from the Tao of forgiveness. I want to share this one first, and here you can hear why it's appropriate here. There is no need for blame. Scapegoat. Long ago, a nomadic people living in the vast wilderness region of the world would tell themselves frightening stories, like I just did to you, about anger and punishment, crickets and grasshoppers and all those things. The punishments of the gods would mete out whenever they were displeased. These people interpreted any of the natural disasters, illness, misfortune, and loss that are naturally a part of life in the Tao as a special punishment given because they had somehow not been given enough, proper enough, or they had not believed or said the right things. Can you feel yourself in that, in one way or another? It's got to be my fault. I said the wrong thing. In an attempt to atone for their fault, they had devised an elaborate ritual to show their repentance. The leaders of the people would lay their hands on a goat and symbolically transfer the transgressions of the people onto the goat. This goat was called the scapegoat. The goat would then be driven alone into the darkness to die. Should that goat accidentally wander back into camp, it would be killed immediately. Sad story. One small goat was chosen as this year's scapegoat. Terribly frightened when the people shouted and threw rocks at him to drive him away, he ran through darkness until he was so tired he could run no further. He stood panting, waiting for whatever wild animal would be his fate. But instead of a wild animal, he heard a kindly voice speak to him. "You look tired and hungry. Come with me, and I'll give you food and rest." The scapegoat turned and saw a man standing with a staff in his hand. The man turned and began to walk away, stopped, looked back, and said, "Well, come along." The goat followed cautiously, too tired, too hopeless to think of anything else. After walking a short time, they came to a small campsite with a blazing fire and several other men and women just sitting. Beyond the fire, a large herd of goats, including two of his friends who had been scapegoats in earlier years. The man said, "These are the scapegoats who have been driven out in the past. As long as people are afraid to look deeply into themselves, accept both the helpful and harmful qualities they find there, they will blame the gods and other people, and they will always find scapegoats. Until they are willing to face their fear, I and my descendants will remain here to care for these scapegoats. Go, join them. There is food and warmth waiting for you. The young goat ran, bleating in relief and joy to join his herd. Oh, I'm so glad it was a happy ending as I was reading that story. But it's a happy ending for all of us. If we find refuge in community, here, we find refuge and we realize that yes, even though we soul search, we might not find things that we are pleased with within ourselves. But it is time to practice self-forgiveness and to evolve out of that, and to knowing that when we do that, we are becoming stronger for the people all around us. So we look deeper, and here's this way the shamans say is the second intention. First, we just looked at things as they were, which is important, but now look again with the eye of the Spirit, the eye of the Spirit. And then we start looking, what is that? That is your evolving consciousness. It is out there like a crazy mixed up dream, and we're called by a greater vision. I really do believe this time is our time as humanity to help take each other's hand and lead us into that field where we can bleat. What does it say? What did they bleat and they kick and they're happy. That we can be in a field where we empower ourselves and find this peace for the greater good of all, collectively. This is the state of higher consciousness. It is also the state of action. So hear these quotes now. These are powerful. This is Earnest Holmes. As you learn to release all your burdens to the right action of God, you will find that everything falls into its proper place. You let your problems slip away from you, realizing that there is a power greater than you. To me, that is what I reach for. God's got this. God's greater than the COVID. God's greater than Delta. God's greater than the fires. God's greater than. And then you allow yourself to rise up and to see the potentiality from there. He goes on to say, there is a presence that is within you, ready, willing, able to guide you in all ways. Peace, security, fulfillment come with ease. There is a sense of joy and accomplishment here. Further, he says, there is a kingdom. There is a kingdom. That is your consciousness within all of us. It is a heavenly space of awareness, a field of potentiality and peace. Let us meet there. Doesn't that sound like a Rumi poem? It is the universal mind, already receptive to our greater understanding and compassion, that is embracing each one of us, calling us home, calling us home. Please understand this. It's stating to our deep knowing, understand this. He goes on to say, we are thinking, choosing centers of awareness in this mind, and according to the sum total of all of our thoughts, we are either silently attracting good or we are repelling it from us. So we have to really look at that. That part makes your heart quicken a little bit. Wait, I am repelling my good. You are surrounded by a universal mind which is receptive. It receives the slightest impress of your thought. It is neutral. It receives any thought. This is Science of Mind in a nutshell here with Earnest Holmes. The wind will sail a boat whichever way you set the rudder and tact. All mind is receptive, ready to act when acted upon. It is creative. It creates wherever it wants to. It is absolutely impersonal. Wow, how did he know all this? He worked his life to polish that level of his kingdom of consciousness to know. And I'll leave you this final one from him. You have not been left alone to fight a losing battle against powers of evil. You have not been left alone to discover, you have been left alone to discover your real nature. That is your individuality. And you may consciously unite with the law of life and this presence of good. Just keep on knocking at the doorway of your consciousness until every no becomes a yes, every negation becomes an affirmation, every fear becomes your faith. You cannot fail if you remain steadfast. Finally, the fetters of bondage will drop from you. We will walk out of your self-imposed prison, only discover that the door was never really locked, the windows were never actually barred. You were bound merely by the chain of disbelief. Whoa. Set the mind free, and the rest will follow. Now, Byron Katie is a master at reminding us to just love what is, and that's a good ground to stand on. Spiritual practices, mindfulness, establishing yourself in the truth of being, adjusting and tweaking your thoughts, attitudes, actions, prayers, affirmations, your denials, your inner, your outer life, all to adjust your life to truth, to the true self. You know, when we read these things, it's like, okay, on my mark, get set, ready. Well, and then something pulls us back. Habit ways, habit consciousness pulls us back. Thich Nhat Hanh says the energy of mindfulness is the energy of just being present. Body and mind united, body and mind united. When you practice mindful breathing, mindful walking, you become free of the past, free of the future. You're in the now, free of your projects, and you become totally alive and present again. When we cling to thoughts and memories, we are clinging to what cannot be grasped. When we touch these phantoms and let them go, we may discover a space, a break in the chatter, a glimpse of open sky. This is our birthright. This is the wisdom which we were born to enjoy. All that is necessary then is to rest, undistracted, in the immediate present. It is the very instant in time. That's Bhima Chodron. A Course in Miracles. When the light comes at last into the mind given to contemplation, or when the goal is finally achieved by anyone, it always comes with just one happy realization: I need do nothing. Let go, let God, let it be, put it down. Let yourself no longer, as Thich Nhat Hanh was twirling that water, if he just kept turning the stick saying, it's going to come up, it's going to come up, he had to walk away and let the natural order of things to take place, to evolve. Eckhart Tolle, the single most vital step on your journey to enlightenment is this: learn to disidentify with your mind. I have another story. How much time do I have? I wasn't watching. Oh. Okay. These are the birds. I've shared this one before, but it works here. Stanley was cursed by a flock of raucous, chattering birds. For some reason, this flock of birds had attached themselves to Stanley and followed him wherever he traveled. At night, they sat on the eaves of his house and squawked and twittered from dusk till dawn. When he walked out of the house in the morning, they flew a short distance in the air, but they remained circling above his head throughout the day. He tried throwing rocks, yelling, and waving his arms wildly, but nothing worked. The birds remained as if they were attached to a string from his head. Do you have that? Some birds? I kind of can vision a few birds buzzing at the top of this sanctuary. There are birds, our mind, our loopy thoughts. Stanley went to the Taoist sage who lived in the neighborhood and said, I am cursed by birds, he wailed above the cheeping and tweeting. Please help me get rid of them. The sage looked calmly. Everyone has birds. You can't get rid of them. Good news, bad news, one of those moments. You can't get rid of them. Oh my God, I'm going to go crazy. I can't live with all that noise. Walk with me, said the sage. And they walked several hours up a small mountain range, down the other side to the ocean, made their way down a steep path, onto the cliff until they reached the sandy beach. Together they walked to the ocean's edge, and they stood looking out at the vast water. Now what, said Stanley, whose birds continued to circle close over his head. Now, nothing. Now, nothing, said the sage. Just listen to the ocean. Stanley tried. At first, all he was aware of was the familiar chattering of high-pitched bird squawks. But for a moment, he did notice the background rhythm gentle washing of the endless waves on the shore, he turned his attention to the sound, and the birds above his head began to circle a few feet higher. When he turned his attention back, the circle of birds tightened right back down. He turned his attention back to the ocean, and once again, the birds expanded their range, circling even farther away this time. He turned to the sage. "Interesting," Stanley said. The sage nodded. "The ocean is your Tao mind, always there, always offering an infinite amount of room for your life. Do you understand?" "I don't know," said Stanley, "but I want to be here by the ocean more often, that's for sure." The sage smiled. "It's always here." "By the way," said Stanley, "you said everyone has birds. Where are yours?" "Oh," said the sage, with a dismissive wave with his hand, "they're still here, but they circle miles away. I hardly notice them anymore, unless I really concentrate on them. I can't imagine why I'd want to do that. Can you?" I just love that story. So much to share on this. I'm going to bring it forward at another time, because this idea, be still and know, be still and be still, be. This idea of just continuing to even let go of the words that populate our consciousness. Pray and treat. Right now, to free yourself, free your mind of limitation and disbelief. Free your mind and heart. It's not a selfish act. Our freedom lies in clearing up that gap of discontent, your unworthiness, your fear, your doubt, your blame, your guilt, whatever it is, keeping those birds chirping a little bit too close. Pray, treat, let go. Get clear on what you want to experience and name it. And name it and claim it and follow it. The interesting thing about prayer, Dr. Larry Dossey did a lot of research on the power of prayer and the answering of prayer. And in his research, he was led to give a lot of talks and lectures to hospitals and to the medical administrative teams. And he boldly claims in his work, prayer works. His evidence informs us that through the devotion and through the prayer, positive outcome can be brought forth. But he surprised himself this one time when he was lecturing in New York, when he was addressing all the scientific basis for all of this. The hospice chaplain approached him and said, "I need to talk to you." He said, "If I understand you correctly, you are claiming that intercessory prayer actually works?" That was the chaplain. Now, Dr. Larry described the next moment as a speechless silence, recognizing even though the man dedicated his life to prayer and was working with these individuals, he had doubts that it was making an effect. But he was honest. He was honest in his doubt and courageously seeking the validation of the power of prayer. So with that, one of my favorite rabbis had this answering, Rabbi Rami Shapiro in Spirituality and Health. He was answering this question: "I'm sick and tired of people calling for thoughts and prayers whenever a tragedy occurs. Clearly, neither does any good. What else can we do?" Maybe the problem, his answer isn't thoughts and prayers, but the kinds of thoughts and prayers. My own version of thoughts and prayers, borrowed from two Buddhist practices, metta, tonglen. When engaging with an individual suffering, I use metta, loving kindness meditation. I sit comfortably and still, visualizing the person in my mind and offering the following: "May you be free from fear." I offer that to you. May you be free from fear. Go ahead, Judy. May you be free from fear. May you be free from compulsion. May you be blessed with love. Go ahead. May you be blessed with peace. Now, when he engages with trauma, he goes to tonglen, again, sitting quietly, feeling a sense of heart-mind expansiveness. He imagines the suffering. He imagines the suffering that he is there to help alleviate in his prayers. He feels the texture and the feeling of that, something hot, heavy, foreboding. And when he feels it strong enough, he breathes it into his body. This is Tonglen. And then he allows it and imagines with the vision power of his consciousness that it is being transformed into something cool, light, and loving. Can we do that? Can we as a people take the time to practice the Tonglen of the suffering of the world, to transform it into some loving energy? He breathes that. And when that transformation is complete, he breathes the healing energy into the world. He asks, do either of these practices impact those that they're meant to help? I don't know, but they give him a sense of agency that empowers him to work for justice without falling into the dual trap of self-righteousness and despair. So beautiful. The Buddhist path, we'll talk more about that. And the power of prayer, we continue to reinforce that. There's so much to be said, so many rabbit holes to go down and just to saturate ourselves with the beautiful understanding. But I'm going to take you in a poem, so I invite you to shift your consciousness, to listen to my words with two attentions. You are hearing words, but allow yourself to see the visuals, to feel it, to think about the news of the world, and to take that Tonglen practice and breathe the suffering in, transform it into love. Once the world was perfect. This is a poem by Joy Harjo from Conflict Resolutions for Holy Beings. You are the holy beings. Once the world was perfect and we were happy in the world. Then we took it for granted. Discontent began a rumble in the earthly mind. Then doubt pushed through with its spiked head. And once doubt ruptured the web, all manner of demon thoughts jumped through. We destroyed the world we had been given for inspiration, for life. Each stone of jealousy, each stone of fear, greed, envy, hatred, put out the light. No one was without a stone in his or her hand. There we were, right back where we started, bumping into each other in the dark. And now we had no place to live since we didn't know how to live with each other. Then one of the stumbling ones took pity on another and shared a blanket. A spark of kindness made a light. The light made an opening in the darkness. Everyone worked together to make a ladder. A wind-clad person climbed out first into the next world, and then the other clans, and then the children of those clans, and then their children, and their children, all the way through time to now, into this morning. Light be unto you. As we know this truth, this absolute truth, that we are in a divine knowing, that we are love, and we allow that love to be propelled into action. And with deep gratitude, we walk our walk, we walk our talk, and we become the ambassadors of peace and light. I give thanks for the opportunity to share in a room where the birds are far, far away, and there's only one here, and we call it love. Thank you, God, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, Judy. More music, everyone. Enjoy.
Thank you, choir, and thank you, Reverend Sue. I have some work to do. No, actually, very inspiring. And, it's interesting, I watch her during the week, thinking about the talk and pulling a book here and a book there and writing something down. And so I know it's in her consciousness all week, but I never ask, so what are you going to say? Because I want to be surprised, and all I can say is I'm deeply proud. Because I know it's from her heart. It truly is. And she gathers enough stuff, she could do 3 talks. So anyway, I'd like to invite the ushers forward. And we're going to do our affirmation. This time I found it. So we'll do it together first. Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance. For I know as I give, I do receive. And so it is. So we'll enjoy a song from Lindy or from a recording. Karen Drucker.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed. so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed.
So as we allow this moment of gratitude to take place deep in our heart, we know that the gifts that are given from your heart and with love serve this center in many, many different ways, and it flows back to each and every one of us in the most unimaginable and also imaginable ways. For it is a circle. It's a circle of giving and receiving. And so we know this center is blessed by your gifts and your love and your heart. So we give thanks for today's gift and for those online who choose to give in their own special way, whether it be through consciousness or going to our website or mailing something. We know that your gifts are received with pure love and respect, and they go a great way towards making this community a wonderful and beautiful place. So I give thanks, and I release this truth into the knowing, and together we say, and so it is. So I don't actually invite everyone, including those online, to invite a friend to come to our service. You know, we're ready to welcome everybody in, and we're welcoming people online as well. So if this speaks to you, invite a friend and just sit with them. And then if they want to come and talk, we're available. So now we're going to move into the end of our service. We have our affirmation, and then we'll have a song, a closing song. So if you can repeat after me, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. So now we're going to give it all the way across the world. Here we go. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is my life now. Yes. Okay. So we have the choir again, and then just enjoy your day. It's a beautiful day outside. Thank you.
We let the love wash over.
Just a reminder, we have the social hall open, so enjoy. Have a nice day.